All right, number 36. During a particular experiment, two events A and B can each occur. Events A and B are mutually exclusive. So that word right there basically means that they cannot both happen at the same time. During this experiment, which of the following probabilities is 0? So 0 means that it cannot happen. So if it's mutually exclusive, then when it cannot happen is when what cannot happen is both A and B at the same time. So that would be J. They have no chance of both happening at the same time because they are mutually exclusive. Okay, number 37. Polynomial function is defined by this function and has x minus 3 as one of its linear factors. Okay. What are all and only the zeros of p? So let's see, x minus 3 is one of the factors, so that right there tells me that I could say x minus 3 equals 0. Add 3 to both sides, and x equals 3 is one of the zeros. So that tells me right away it's going to be one of these two. And we could try to factor it out, but now that we know it's one of these two, let's just put it into the equation. So we could try negative 2 to the power of 3 minus 8 times negative 2. Oops, I missed one. Plus negative 2 squared, then minus 8 times negative 2, minus 12. And let's see if that comes out to 0. So right now I'm just putting it into my calculator, typing it in exactly as I see it. Okay, and that sure enough did come out to 0. And so that should be the answer there. Number 38. Jonathan rode his bike every day for 18 days. Table shows each of the distance he rode. The table also shows the number of days he rode each of those distances. What is the median day? So median means kind of like the middle number, if we were going to write them all out. So let's see, we've got the distance of 1 for 2 days, so we'd say it's 1 and 1. Distance of 3 miles for 4 days, so that would be 3, 3, 3, 3. Distance of 4 for 3 days, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4s. Distance of 5 for 6 days. And then finally, distance of 7 for 3 days. So halfway is going to be 9 of these days. So let's see, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here's 9. And here's 9. So halfway is going to be in between 4 and 5, which would be 4.5. All right, number 39. A tourism organization randomly selected 100 tourists finishing their summer visit to Spain. Asked how many cities they had toured in the country. Based on the data for the population of tourists that visited the Spain, what is the best estimate for the mean numbers of cities toured? So let's see, we've got 10 tourists that toured one city. So we could say that there's 10 total cities right there. Then I've got 40 tourists that visited 2 cities, so that would be another 80 cities that were visited. And then I've got 50 tourists that visited 3 cities, so that would be 150 cities that were visited. So I can add those all together. Let's see, that should be 240. I'll double check myself, but that sounds right to me. Okay. So then we need to divide that by the number of tourists. So divided by 10 plus 40 plus 50 would be divided by 100. So then divide those, gives me 2.4. Should be the right answer. Okay, now number 40. Given this equation, where y is a real number, so it can't be imaginary, what must be true of x? Well, in order for it to not be imaginary, we can't have a negative number there, right? Because if we have, for example, a negative 1 in there, we could say that that is like negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. Well, that's going to equal the positive number. It's not going to give us that negative root that we needed, right? We talked about how like the square root of -1 is I. So if we're taking the square root or the fourth root of a negative number, that's going to make it not real. So it can't be a negative number. It has to be a non-negative number. All right. Given that 1 is less than or equal to m, less than or equal to 4, okay, what is the greatest possible value for m over n times 1 over p? So if I want the greatest possible value for this multiplication, I want both of these numbers to be as big as possible, which means that I want my numerator to be as big as possible. So m, I'm going to make it the biggest number it can be, which would be 4, over n. The denominator I want to be as small as possible. And so n, I'm going to also use 4 because that's the smallest number that it says that it can be. So it'll be 4 over 4 times 1 over, and again, this is a denominator, so I want it to be as small as possible. So I'll use the 8. So 4 over 4 is 1 times 1/8 is 1/8. So it should be D. Which of the following data sets has the largest standard deviation? Without going into too much detail, standard deviation basically means like how close are the numbers together. So like this one would have a really tiny standard deviation because they're all the same number. This one would be a little bit more spread out because the numbers are not all the same, but still much closer than the other two. Where these two are pretty close, but I would say that these ones are the furthest apart because, you know, the 1 and the 9 are kind of in the middle of the 0 and the 10, so it helps bring the standard deviation a little bit closer together. But basically, we're just looking for which numbers are the furthest apart. All right, got a cylindrical tank shown. Inside diameter is 18 inches. Then we put gravel in the fish tank. The water level of the tank rose 2 inches. So we've got 2 inches worth of gravel. What is the volume of the gravel? So the volume of a cylinder, we take the volume or the area of a circle, which is pi r squared, and then we multiply that times the height of the cylinder. So we're going to take, well, the radius of this would be 9 inches because the diameter is 8. So I'll take, and then the height is the 2. So we'll take 2 times pi times 9 squared, which would be 2 times pi times 9 squared is 81. And 2 times 81 is 162. So it would be 162 pi. All right, number 44. The table gives values of f of x, g of x, h of x for all positive integers x is less than or equal to 5. Given that, oh gosh, h of f of g of a equals 1, where a is a positive integer less than or equal to 5, what is the value of a? So we want, at the end, we want h of all this to equal 1. So let's find where that is. That would be over here, when h equals 1. And that h equals 1 when our input is 2. So essentially, if this whole thing is 2, then we'll get what we want. So then we need to know what makes f of the rest of it equal to 2. So if I go find f and find where it's 2, I find that that's at 1. So I need the g of a part to be 1. So then I could find where g of x equals 1, and that is 5. So if I put in 5, I will get out 1 for g of x. I put that 1 into f of x, that gives me 2. And then I put in the 2 to h of x, that gives me 1, which is what I want. So what I started with was the 5. I believe that's correct. We'll see. Number 45. Each time Quincy is tossed, it lands face up or face down. The probability of landing face up is 3 times the probability of landing face down. And a certain game player wins $1 when Quincy lands face up. And the player wins $2 when Quincy lands face down. So let's see. Face up is 3 times as likely. So we're going to say that for face up, it's 3 times as likely. as landing face down. So what that means is basically every time that I land it 1 time face down, I should expect to land it 3 times face up. Okay? So if I toss it 4 times, 3 times should be up, 1 should be down. Let's see, if every time it lands up, we get $1, so I can multiply the 3 times $1. Every time it lands face down, they get $2, so I can multiply that times $2. Let's see, that would be $3, this would be $2. So basically, every time I toss it a total of 4 times, I should expect to get $5. Well, it wants to know how many times for each toss. So for 1 toss, we could divide by 4 and find that 5 divided by 4 is 125. So that's how much I would expect to get for each toss. Okay. So we'll see how I did. If I need to make any corrections, I will make a video correcting any of the ones that I got wrong. I think I got them all right, but there's a couple that I'm not sure about. If you have any questions about any of these, make sure that you let me know, because I can give you a better, more detailed explanation in person. But good luck.